Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So now I'm going to continue with Unit 7, the media. But now we are going to focus on the language awareness on the passive. Okay. So here are our learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to complete 10 sentences with the correct form of the passive, rewrite 7 sentences in the passive, read 8 sentences and indicate each sentence as impersonal passive structure or personal structure, complete 8 pairs of sentences using impersonal and personal passive structures. Okay, in other words, you are going to form the passive form based on the tenses and underline the passive verb forms. Then later you are going to decide which sentences talks about something unpleasant that happened accidentally or unexpectedly. Then you can rewrite sentences into passive forms and identify impersonal and personal passive structures. And at the end, you can complete sentences using impersonal and personal passive structures. Okay, now just to refresh back your knowledge about passive voice and active voice. Okay, an active sentence like, as you can see from the screen, like I drank 2 cups of coffee has the subject first, the person or thing that does the verb, followed by the verb, and finally the object, the person or things that the action happens to. So in this example, the subject is, the verb is drank, and the object is 2 cups of coffee. But we don't always need to make sentences this way. We might want to put the object first, or perhaps we don't want to say who did something. Okay, this can happen for lots of reasons. In this case, we can use a passive which puts the object first. Okay, as you can see from the screen, 2 cups of coffee were drunk by me. Alright, we can add by me if we want, but it isn't necessary anyway. Okay, you may refer back at the article in the text, article from Unit 7 about the media. Try to figure out and underline all the examples of the passive voice that you may find from the text. Right now, when should we use the passive? Okay, firstly, when we want to change the focus of the sentence. For example, the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Alright, in this case, we are more interested in the painting than the artist in the sentence. Secondly, when who or what causes the action is unknown or unimportant or obvious or people in general. Okay. For example, he was arrested. Okay. In this sentence, the obvious agent is of course the police. Alright, second sentence, my bike has been stolen. So in this case, we have an unknown agent. We do not know who stole that bike. Next one, the road is being repaired. Okay, this one can be considered as unimportant agent. Alright, next, the form can be obtained from the post office. Okay, in this case, it refers to people in general. Okay, thirdly, you can use the passive in factual or scientific writing. Okay, example, the chemical is placed in a test tube and the data entered into the computer. Alright, next, in formal writing, instead of using someone or people or they. For example, the brochure will be finished next month. Another is in order to put the new information at the end of the sentence to improve stuff. Okay, for example, 3 books are used regularly in the class. The books were written by Dr. Bell. Okay, it sounds clumsy when you put Dr. Bell wrote the books. Okay, next and finally, when the subject is very long. Okay, in this example, I was surprised by how well the students did in the test. Okay, it sounds more natural than how well the student did in the test surprised me. So a little bit awkward in that sentence. Okay, so now let's revise a bit on the use of passive form. So here is a list of sentences. So you have to identify sentences that are in passive forms. So there are about number 1 until number 14. Okay, the first one, I visited my grandparents yesterday. Number 2, the letter was sent 2 days ago. Number 3, Kate phoned her friend. Number 4, Tim was taken to the zoo yesterday. Number 5, the plants are watered every day. Number 6, we like to watch TV. 7, the children are told not to play there. Number 8, they will attend the lectures on history. Number 9, this problem is discussed by the students. Number 10, a new shop will be open in 3 days. Number 11, we organize a competition at school. Number 12, Nick was asked to help Tom. 13, Pam asked a lot of questions. And 14, the house was decorated with flowers. So there are 14 sentences. Should you be able to identify which one is the passive voice? Which one is the answer? Okay. Alright, I give you the correct answer. Firstly is sentence number 2. Okay, the letter was sent 2 days ago. Next, followed by Tim was taken to the zoo yesterday. Followed by number 5, the plants are watered every day. Next, the children are told not to play there. So the rest of the sentences you may identify on your own and you can refer to your English teachers. Okay, but before you change from active to passive sentence, make sure you remember the tense first. So let's revise quickly on tenses, gerunds, infinitive, and modals. You must have a clear view on these things before you change the active sentences into passive sentences. Let's have a look first. Okay, as you can see from the screen, hopefully you are able to memorize the kind of tense that you are going to use later in the passive sentence. Okay, when you look at the right side, make sure you know how to change from gerund, from infinitive, and from modal active sentence to passive sentence as well. Alright, now let's have a look first your grammar theory. Of grammar 1, you may refer to your textbook, page 87. Okay, read about the passive. We use the passive voice when the action is more important than the agent, when we don't know the agent or it is not important. Okay, it means that awak gunakan passive voice ni bila kita lebih mementingkan apa yang dibuat dari siapa yang membuatnya. Or, in other words, awak tak tahu siapa yang melakukan perkara tersebut. Or, in other words, it can be said that siapa yang melakukan tu tidak penting. Okay, example, the newspaper is published in the UK. Next, this article was written in Bolivia. Okay, we form the passive voice with the appropriate tense of to be and the past participle of the main verb. We can use to get instead of to be to talk about something unpleasant that happens by accident or unexpectedly. Okay, example, the website was set up in 2009. The correspondent got killed in India. We form the passive of first one, a gerund with being plus past participle. For example, being interviewed by the journalist was fun. Okay, next, a bare infinitive with be plus past participle. Example, an article about the famine must be written. The article had better be written soon. Next, a full infinitive with to be plus past participle. When is the story supposed to be printed? Okay, the notes there. When it is important to mention the agent in a passive sentence, we use the word by plus the name or the noun. When we want to mention the tools, object or instrument that was used for something, we use the word with. Okay, ada perbezaan kat situ bila awak nak mention nama, you have to use the word by. Nama ataupun kata nama, you have to use by. Meanwhile, if you want to mention about tools, perkakas, object, benda or any instrument, you have to use the word with. Alright, example, a number of newspapers are owned by Guardian Media Group. Alright, by Guardian Media Group. So by followed by noun, proper noun. Alright, next one, the magazine photo was taken with a digital camera. Okay, with a digital camera is an instrument or maybe is a tool to take the photo. Alright, here are the simple guidelines for you on how you are going to construct sentences to become passive sentences. So you have to aware of this thing. Okay, alright, I take the first one as an example. Okay, when you are going to change the tense from present simple, okay, the active sentence, I make a cake. So when you want to change into passive sentence, you change to the cake is made by me. Right, by me at the end is optional. You can either mention or not. It's up to you. Okay. Alright. So make sure you memorize how you are going to change from active to passive by memorizing the formula here. Okay. Now Let's have a look at exercise 3. Complete the sentences with the correct form of the passive. Okay, first of all, you have to read the sentences from number 1 until number 10. Okay, then please underline first anytime expressions or other clues that will help you to choose the correct tense. Okay, you must work out the correct tense first in each sentence in the active voice before writing the passive form. You can always look back at the grammar theory for help. Okay, in this case, let's do the first 3 sentences first. Alright, the basketball star interviewed by the sports columnist now. So the correct answer would be is being interviewed. Number 2, the review needs. What is the answer? Okay, the correct answer is to be written again. Alright, number 3, this website was set up by a teenager in Bristol last year. Okay, so remember just now I asked you to get familiar with this. Okay, so that you are able to change it to the correct way in the passive form. Okay, next, the rest of the exercise you have to write in your exercise book later. Okay, next one. Practice 4. Rewrite the sentences in the passive. Write them in your notebook as well. So again, you must think about the tenses each time and look at the grammar theory again for help. Okay, the first one, they should do something about cyberbullying. Number 2, my company will sell this comic all over the world. Number 3, the editor had edited the magazine before it went to print. Number 4, this man has created many advertisements for the Chicago Tribune. Number 5, journalists want their employer to send them to interesting places. Number 6, teenagers write a lot of text messages every day. Number 7, the interviewer will have asked the film star a lot of questions by the end of the interview. So firstly, you have to identify the tenses first. Okay, in this case, they use the model should, will sell, future tense, had edited, followed by has created. Next, want. Number 6, right. Number 7 is will have us. So make sure you underline or identify first the tenses from each sentences so that you are able to change it into the correct passive forms. Okay, all right, in this one model, number 1 should, number 2 they use future simple, will sell. Number 3 they use had edited, is past perfect followed by has created. Present perfect, want is present simple, right is present simple, and will have us is future perfect simple. So how are you going to rewrite the sentences in the passive? Okay, I'm going to share with you for number 1. Okay, something should be done about cyberbullying. Okay, next one, number 2. Alright, this comic will be sold all over the world by my company. Okay, the rest of the sentences please complete and do it in your exercise book as well. Okay, now it's all about the passive, impersonal, and personal structure. Okay, you may refer this note from Grammar 2, page 89. Read about impersonal and personal structures. We often use verbs like believe, consider, know, expect, say, report, suppose, and think in the passive voice. They can be used in an impersonal or a personal passive structure. We form the impersonal passive structure with it plus passive verb plus that plus clause. Okay. They give you example there. Many people believe that magazine should be cheaper. That one is in active voice. If you want to change to passive voice, it becomes it is believed that magazine should be cheaper. When you use the word it is, okay, that one we call it as impersonal structures. Okay, next we form the personal passive structure with noun plus passive verb plus full infinitive. Example, many people say that teenagers spend too much time surfing the net. Okay, if you want to change to passive, it becomes teenagers are said to spend too much time surfing the net. So make sure you you understand well when are you going to use personal, when it can be called as impersonal. Okay, when we put an object of an active sentence into passive, it becomes subjects of the passive sentence. Okay, so we very often leave out the by agent in the passive sentence. Okay. For impersonal passive, it always starts with it is said. Okay, the phrase it is said is an impersonal passive. This construction is used informally. It is said is used when one doesn't want to or is unable to cite legitimate sources for what you are saying. It is essentially a way of claiming any position without justifying it. Okay, example, it is said that children are afraid of ghosts. So, it is said. Dia tak nak dikenal pasti. So, who is it is said? Siapa yang cakap benda tu? So, the correct active sentence would be, maybe you can change to active sentence, people say that children are afraid of ghosts. Okay, when you put, bila awak dah letak people or noun or subject in front, it automatically become personal structure, no more impersonal. So let's have a look at exercise number 3. Rewrite the sentences and write I for impersonal passive structure or P for personal structure. So we have number 1 until number 8. This one a very easy exercise for you to complete. So you have to remember when we use it in front of the sentence, we say that it's for impersonal passive structure. So in this exercise, can you identify which one is impersonal, which one is personal? Number 1. Yes, the first one is very personal because they put the word he in front of the sentence. Mention who did that. Number 2, it can be considered as impersonal because they start the sentence with the word it is. So the rest of it you do on your own. Okay, now let's move to practice 4. Complete the sentences using impersonal and personal passive structures. And remember that in each pair of sentences, you must complete the gap with both personal and impersonal. You can always look back at the example in the grammar theory to help you. Okay, let's try out for the first one. They give you the sentence, people know that he stars on the big screen. Okay, semua orang tahu yang dia telah membintangi atau telah melakonkan atau telah terlibat dalam sesuatu movie, big screen. Okay, so if let's say you have to always remember when it is in front of the sentence, it is called impersonal structure. So the first one, it is known that he stars on the big screen. So for personal passive structure, it becomes he is known to star on the big screen. Can you see the differences between these two sentences? I hope so. So never mind, let's try it for sentence number 2. People suppose that e-books are more environmentally friendly than printed books. Okay, so for impersonal passive structure, the answer should be it is supposed that e-books are more environmentally friendly than printed books. Personal passive structure, the answer would be e-books are supposed to be more environmentally friendly than printed books. Okay, always remember it's either is or are, depends on the subject in front. If it is singular, you use is. If it is plural, you use are. Alright. So, my dear student, please complete the rest of the exercises in your English book as well. Okay, here come your post-lesson activity. Rewrite the sentences in the passive voice. We have 7 sentences here. Okay, I would like you to share your answers in the Padlet link that I am going to put below the description. The answers for number 1 until number 7. Then I'm going to check and give marks on that. Okay, we tried it out for number 1. We bought this car yesterday. So how are you going to change it into passive voice? It becomes the object should be in front. Yes, good. The sentence would become this car was bought by us yesterday. Always be careful with the pronouns. You have to change it accordingly. Always be careful with the tenses as well. Always refer back to the table that I have shared earlier. when you are going to construct the passive voice sentence. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. So I'm going to see you again in the next lesson. Stay safe, everyone.